Hey everybody, it's Julie Ramirez, and I've got a really special co-partner here, Heidi. Heidi, welcome.
Hi, thank you.
So Heidi and I wanted to jump on and do a collaborative video. We met probably what you think, Heidi? Like maybe was what 2 months ago, I think.
Two or three, yeah.
So, one of the things that I really enjoyed when I was meeting with Heidi one on one was she just had such a lot of life experience. And, I shared a little bit about some of the challenges that I've had with some of the things that I've gone through. And one of the things that really stood out to me, Heidi, was just the way that your mindset is and how you just look at life's challenges differently than probably most of us. And I know that you've been through a lot. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about what you've gone through and maybe what are some of the things that you kind of focus on, because some of the things that you've gone through probably would have made somebody like me just completely just shut down. That's my normal reaction, is to kind of shut down and to go into a shell, and then I work my way out of it, right? But just some of the ways that you think about the things that have happened to you in your life. I mean, you just have such a different, like, optimistic mindset that I've never seen or heard before. And so that was one of the things that I was really interested in when we started chatting, and really feel like that was something that could help me and some other people.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thanks. I definitely have had a lot of things go on in my life. And when I think back of all those things, there's definitely a few definitive moments that really changed my life. I'm not going to get into everything, of course, but
Yeah.
originally it started back in 1980 when my brother died in a car accident. Then my parents divorced 3 years later. 3 years after that, my mom passed away. Um, then, when we move forward, had a lot of loss in my life. About 5.5 years ago, I lost my husband, Craig, to leukemia. And then a year and a half ago, I lost my best friend to terminal cancer as well. So those events really have made an impact on me. And, over the years, I've encountered things like I was homeless. I survived domestic violence. Just a number of things that have happened. And, I've had people ask me, well, do you regret choices you made? Now the way I look at it is different how I would have looked at it back then. I
Yeah.
now I don't necessarily regret choices. I don't think that necessarily they were choices. It's what life was. I focus on what happened after the event happened.
What do you
Uh,
mean when they say life's choices? Because I mean, we okay, like, let's say you met your husband, you fell in love, you guys had a good relationship. It wasn't a choice not to know that he was going to have cancer.
well,
Um,
for me, the catalyst of everything to kind of get me to where I am now is when my husband, when he passed away. I really changed in a way. I suddenly realized I've got to take care of myself for the rest of my life.
mhm.
Um, and that motivated me and terrified me all in the same. And with the choices, for me, was it staying where I was, where we lived together, or was it moving? I knew right away, as soon as he passed, I was leaving the state of Ohio and I was coming to Florida. I had lived here 30 years prior, was not a good time in my life. Um, it just was not. But I came back and I moved with my best friend. And that choice to invite her to come along with me, um, to offer that up to her, ultimately led to another kind of transition for myself. We were only here 5 weeks and she was diagnosed with terminal cancer. So a year and a half, I lost my husband. And then we were here 5 weeks later and she's diagnosed terminal. And with both of them, I had about maybe, I don't know, 14 to 16 months with them
Yeah.
um, before they passed. But those life experiences, I had some people that were questioning my choices. And for me, it wasn't a choice. It was just something that happened and I needed to do. And and this is kind of crazy, but I really learned to trust my gut. I don't
Mhm.
overanalyze. And I've always been kind of a gypsy at heart. If somebody were to say, "Hey, do you want to move to Italy tomorrow?" Oh, yeah, okay, I would agree to it. And then we would figure it all out.
Yeah.
Um, and those aren't necessarily choices. Those are things that I've now learned to trust with inside myself from my gut, just knowing that if something happens, whatever the outcome is, my mind is what kind of guides me through it, whether it turns out good or not. And if it doesn't turn out great, well, then I just pivot. So
Well, Well, what's interesting is like for me, picking up and going would be like a catastrophe for me. So when things happen, like when I lost my mom and my dad, and just some of the things that I've dealt with, it's hard to like step to make that next step because you're so used to prepping and preparing for for what you think life's going to look like. And then when it cuts you down, you're like, where do I go now? So that would totally scare me. Um but I like the fact, like, I think that we can learn from you that the mindset is everything. It's just not sitting and wallowing, which I know is easy to say but hard to do, because I know, like, through your story, I got to see sides of maybe what my dad was going through as a widow that I never really thought about, right? Because I was grieving from the daughter being the daughter. And so I think that's helpful because people like us that are A-type personality, I mean, that would just rock our world. We had to just pick up and go. What was funny is when you're like, Julie, if you called me and said, hey, let's move to Miami tomorrow, you'd be all in, or anybody. And, if somebody called me tomorrow, I'd be like, well, what, how, what are we going to do? How are we going to make money? What are we going to do to survive? How are we going to live? So I guess
well,
that's good.
I have found many ways to reinvent myself. And I think that's what it comes down to. And I just have to trust the process, trust myself.
Mhm.
Many years, decades, I didn't trust myself. I was dependent on other people to really make sure that I was okay. Even though I was very strong, I was strong in a different way. And now, once my husband passed, he was he was my soul, my soulmate. It was tragic. And the fact that I used to work in the hospital where he was seeking treatment, I knew a lot more too than the average wife would know about
Oh,
treatment.
no. Yeah, I
And
didn't I didn't know that.
yeah, and then the staff that cared for him, I knew them all, and not all of them. There was a lot of new, but still, I knew them, and it prepared me. And then when Danielle was diagnosed, I really asked her to come with me when I wanted to move, and she lived in Virginia at the time with her family, and um, she's never really been able to have the opportunity to have like an adventure like that. And
Mhm.
and we've been friends for 30 years. So we knew everything, the good, the bad, the ugly, the ridiculous, and been through it all together, divorces, death, childbirth, homelessness, domestic violence, the whole nine yards. We both have shared very similar experiences in different ways. And when she said, yeah, she'd come, I was ecstatic. So here comes my person. And it was incredible. We were going to golden girl it here. And even though she was ill, in about that year and a half or so, we got a lot of fun adventures in. And it just let me know that she was meant to stay here with me so I could care for her. After being an advocate for my husband, yeah, there's no one in a hospital that I have any issues speaking my mind to or asking questions or even complimenting and giving them the support that they need and praise. And I excelled as an advocate, and I'll toot my own horn on that. I just wasn't afraid. And, I would call staff out on breaking sterile protocol. And it was funny. We would go into an appointment and I'd start asking questions and she'd say, well, wait a minute, back up, back up. This is Heidi. She's my best friend and she's my advocate. She's my
Yeah.
person. And she knows she's used to work in a hospital. I'm not a clinician, never was, had no desire to be, um, but just being around it. And it was funny to see the look on their face when I ask a question about something like, oh, are you in the medical field? Like, well, I used to work in administration, but no, I'm not a nurse or a
Well,
doctor.
you have to have somebody in your life that's there to protect you, right?
Yeah.
Because if you don't have a spouse, you've got to have a person that can advocate for you, whoever that is. And I think that's the hardest thing that I hear from people that have had loss is that they can't trust anybody to have that void filled because they're just so, there's so many people that are looking to take advantage, right?
Yeah.
And so it seems like it was a godsend that, while you were going through that mourning time, losing your husband, that here you have this friend that's showing you, different sides of life, that carefree, charismatic, golden girls, whatever you want to call it, filling that void. But then also you get to focus on helping her to her destination, which unfortunately, she was taken from you. But, you
Well,
know,
and the whole thing with her being here is the things that we did here, she never would have done back home. She lived in the country. And I
Mhm.
know her parents would have done wonderful taking care of her, but they're in their 80s. And it's a lot of stress. And the fact that I just went through it, I was ready. I was ready for the fight. Did I want it? No, I did not want it. But, she was that person that when something would happen, um, like I had a former boyfriend reach out to me. We stayed in contact over years. It was our breakup was good, but he reached out to me. Um, oh gosh, maybe 15 years ago, right around the time that Craig was sick. He had found out somehow, and he just checked on me. And then randomly again, like a year later, he sends me a screenshot of the screen in his computer or in his car, and it was a song. And it was a song that it was his song for me, no words, just that. And she's that person like, oh my gosh, you're not going to believe what he did. Look, oh my gosh. And we laughed about it. And
Yeah.
when she passed, I don't have that person anymore. I don't have the person
Mhm.
that knows me that can say, hey, that's a good idea, or you're being ridiculous, or you're being too emotional, or,
Yeah.
you don't give yourself enough credit. And sometimes it's like I'm on isolation island with that close person.
Yeah.
Craig, when you're married a long time, you have your own little secret language and whatever. We did movie quotes all the time and sarcastic humor. But with Danielle, it was just different, on a different level. And so I'm navigating life now. It's been a year and a half since she's passed, and I'm still grieving. Last year was a grief I've never experienced, if I'm honest. Um, Craig was mortifying for sure. It was devastating. But with Danielle, it was even more different, more emptiness and more loneliness. And um, that's when I made a decision within an hour after her passing. I looked up to the heavens and I told her, Danielle, I don't need all this stuff in our house. So I went to the RV show 2 weeks later. I bought a brand new towable RV
Yeah.
and sold almost everything I owned again. And now I live in this full time, and I'm not tied down to all the possessions and the things. I'm focusing on having good experiences and meeting good people like you and providing good services to my clients, and just focusing on my little part of the world here while I'm still nurturing, my mental health, so to speak, with my grief. It sneaks up on you sometimes. Um, and I don't know how to explain it to people, how it felt, the difference between Craig and her. Both were completely devastating, but I knew Craig didn't want me to stay somewhere where I was miserable. He knew I was a feather in the wind. I know he would totally understand me leaving Ohio and coming here. And then Danielle's the same way. So, I have little signs from both of them quite often. The time 1, 2, 3, 4. When I see
Oh,
12,
really?
yeah, when I see 1, 2, 3, 4, that's Craig's way of checking in on me and saying hi, saying I love you. When we had our restaurant, he would text me, look at the time. And it would be 1, 2, 3, 4. And ever since that day back in like 2014, all I see now is 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is like secret little symbol that, hey, I'm checking in on you.
That's
Which,
sweet. That's really,
yeah,
really sweet.
it always
Oh,
makes me happy. And then I talk to him. So it's fun when it happens, because then I kind of have a flood of good memories.
well, that's really what I find like really interesting about what you're saying is that, like for me, I compound the things that have happened. And so I take it as, okay, this happened, this happened, this happened. Maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe I'm not a good person. Then, you start questioning things spiritually, is where I was at. Um, but you don't seem to do that. You seem to just take one incident or one situation at a time for what it is and do your best to just kind of look at it a little differently. And I think that's something that I think that's what's been helpful for us when we met, our connection, because some of the things that you said, I was like, I thought about it and I was like, you know what, that's a great way to think about it. And it gets you out of that mindset and that self-talk, because those are the worst times to be in, when you're just in such a like a depression and an isolation and a bubble. I told you I didn't even want to really step out the last year or so, and and for that was a big deal. It's been a long time since I've spoken, on a platform. It's just so many things that you go through with mental health. It's so hard. And so I know that one of the big things, that there's a lot of women that are struggling with just losing their person. What do you have to like? What's your big advice for them? Because I know that we've talked about things that you've learned, as you've gone along in decades of your life. What's your big like final advice for somebody that's going through something like that and they just can't climb out of it?
Do the things that make you uncomfortable, because it's going to make you stronger. Don't hide in your little hole. Like if when before I moved here, I started networking, and I followed that group for 8 months before I moved, and I just showed up one day to a meeting, and I wasn't comfortable doing that. Normally I am, but I was just not there ready yet. After I moved here, a lot of change, but I just showed up, and I still to this day, I'll find an event and I'll go. I'll do it by myself. I go to concerts by myself. I go to Disney by myself. Is it comfortable the first time? No, it's weird, but that's what my advice would be. If there's something that you want to do and you don't feel comfortable doing it, now from a safety point, of course, but if it's just more of you wanting just to stay home and not put yourself out there, you got to do it. Just put yourself out there, and good things will come. And if you hand it over to the universe, good things are going to come from it. And I very much believe that our destinies are already pre-planned for us, but we're never meant to know where those paths are going to lead. There's not wrong paths. There's just different forks in that path. And we can ask why and question it, but we're not supposed to know. We're supposed to have that faith and believe in it. And that's where I am now with my life. If my road goes a different direction, I'm just accepting the fact that, all right, this is where I probably need to go. Doesn't mean I don't jump in blindly, right? I mean, I do investigate and think about it, but now I try to make myself still put myself out there. And, it's not always comfortable, but in the end, I've met so many people because of that. And I've had a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And that's
you definitely do. Since I've known you for the short amount of time, you definitely have just this incredible mindset about you. You're not afraid to pivot. You're not afraid to jump or make yourself uncomfortable, reinvent yourself. And those are all qualities that I think we all can learn for, no matter what season of our life that we're in. Some women are going to watch this maybe, and they might be rebuilding. They may be leaving a relationship, whatever it is. You can definitely learn from stepping forward, even if it's uncomfortable. So,
well, the age that I am now, I'm 57. I'll be 58 soon.
And you look fantastic.
Well, thank you. 50s are so different now than when my mom passed at 51, and her life was so different. And she looked older. She looked like, now when I look at her, I thought she looks like she's in her 70s. But now we're in that era of, there's so many broken marriages. There's so many women that maybe never got married or don't even have children, that we're finding our own place and our own voice, and being stuck in a man's world. No offense to any man, but connecting with women, which I've never been a big fan of having a lot of girlfriends.
Same thing, the same way. Yeah.
But I find a few like you, like there's just this connection. And for me, it's genuine. I don't need flocks of women hanging around and doing all the stuff. Give me a good core group that really means something. Because when I commit and invest in a relationship with my friends, I need friends. As much as I don't always want to admit it, sometimes I need somebody to say, I haven't heard from you in a while. Get the dust off and go outside. And because I have
Mhm.
those moments too. But
Yeah.
yeah, just my age, the 50s, when you see things online now, women in their 50s are just finding their own place now. And it's very empowering. And I wish this would have been like that for my mom back in the day. Maybe she would have, led a little bit better life and maybe been more healthy and lived longer. But I learned from what was going on with her, and I'm not living my life according to anybody else's agenda anymore. And I don't know. Some days I just wing it, if I'm
I love
honest.
that. I love that. And, one of the things that we talked about is that, I'm in my 40s and I'm not at that point yet. But a lot of women that are in their 50s, they're in that I don't care what anybody thinks about me, and I'm just going to do what is right for me. And so I'm in that balance. And so I'm really excited that we got the opportunity to chat
Yeah, me
and just
too.
kind of share our story, and hopefully it resonates to somebody. And I know we're going to do more things together, but before we go, is there anything else that you want to let everybody know about you? And, if they want to connect with you, maybe just to, you know, have a little support system.
Yeah, well, we all need someone. And I tell people, if you need to talk and you don't want advice, you just need to get it out. When we start a phone call or a text, hey, I don't need advice, I just need to get it out. And some people, that's just kind of their therapy. They can get it out and be done with it. Um, and my goal in life for my business, I have different stages of the next 5 to 10 years. I've got a 2, 3, and 5 year plan. And at the end of those 5 years, I want to be traveling the globe and talking and speaking publicly and talking about just life and mindset. I don't want to spend all my time living in grief, but I get joy talking about those that I've lost. And I think that's the whole point of having people in your life, right? Is for
Mhm.
them to have this positive impact on you and how they help me become the person that I am. And every person that comes into my life, they just add another brick into the layers of everything that's there. And I want to talk to people about that. So,
Yeah, I love that.
connection is important, and we all want to feel like we're a part of something. And sometimes though, we just don't know how or where
Well,
how to.
I love that you said that about, if you want advice, because I'm a fixer. And so that's my first thing. And I've had to learn, do you want me to fix this, or do you want me to just listen? But if any of you women are struggling with any of the things that we might have talked to, in just these last few minutes, reach out to us. We've been there and we're looking to help other women build a support system. We don't need a whole flock of people, right? But we want to be able to meet the people that are going to help us grow and develop to the next level. So I appreciate you, Heidi. And until next time, right?
Exactly. And I want to tell everybody, eat the cake. Just eat the cake. That's my life motto. Eat the cake.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you. And I will look forward to doing more stuff with you.
Yeah. Same
Take
here,
care.
Julie. I'm excited. Thank you.
Uh huh. Bye bye.
Bye.